This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're joining me today for this episode of the Shoot Around, and I got my man Isaiah. I got Andy in the building, and we are going to break down and talk about Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel. We're going to get into it. So let's bring these guys into the building, and let's go ahead and get this thing started. And here we go. Isaiah, what's popping with you, brother? How you feeling today?
Oh man, Sim, I'm feeling good, man. You know, talking with you and Andy. It's gonna be a good one today. We got a very hot, debatable topic, and super ready for it. Let's get it popping.
Yeah, hot topic. Hot topic. I guess it's a hot topic. We'll find out if it's really a hot topic or not. Andy, what's popping, man?
What up, Sim? What up, Isaiah? What up to the chat? Listen. As far as NBK and the whole channel goes, every topic, we can make it a hot topic. So
any topic.
Let's get rolling.
Any topic. All right, so before we dive into it, and up on the screen right now, you can see we have some stats from 2020, 2021 for both players. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson played a limited number of games last season. And Nerlens Noel played the majority of the games for the New York Knicks at that starting center spot because of Mitchell Robinson's injury. But before we even get into it, I just want to talk about this season and what it means for Mitchell Robinson. And I know that we've been over it time and time again, but I want to jump into it one more time before we get into this conversation. What does this season mean for Mitchell Robinson? Isaiah, I'm going to start with you.
Sim, is plain and simple money. Money, longevity, and, I'm gonna keep it straight. There's money. To me, for him, it's about the money this season.
It's about the money. It's about the money. I never liked that. And I'm glad that's coming from you and that's not coming from Mitchell Robinson, because I never liked that from any player to say it's only about the money, because I want to see him say it's about my self-improvement. And that's what I think he would say. I don't think he'd come out and say it's about the money.
Well, I mean, Sim, just, let's not be naive. I mean, if you were to truthfully in a closed room, ask every NBA player, it's about the money. I mean, it's about winning. Also, it's about getting a championship and having a legacy. But I believe 98, 99% of them are gonna say it's also about the money. Obviously, that'd be blind not to say it.
Obviously, that's part of it. But what I'm saying is, I think in any profession, if you're in it just for the money, you're going to be destined to fail. Right? You should be in it for, improvement. In it because you love it, and then in it for self-improvement, to continuously get better. And guess what?
You can love it.
The money comes. The money comes. When you improve, the money comes. Andy, what's the season mean for Mitchell Robinson?
I think the most part of is actually the money. But I also feel that Mitchell Robinson wants to make his presence felt not only for the Knicks, but also around the league. And I'm not only talking number-wise. I think he's also looking to show that he's not going to be an injury-prone player. So, what we saw through the first 3 seasons from Mitch, I think this season he will literally try to walk on eggshells and not get injured, because he knows that if he gets injured and loses major amount of games this year, he will never get that money. So,
right.
At least for me, I'm thinking that he might be looking, at least till mid-season to be playing really safe around the rim, not doing, diving for balls and stuff like that. And I'm not going to blame him. I understand that he already got millions of dollars on his account. He probably used some of those millions of dollars already, but
not to
but
mention New
listen,
York tax and tax in other cities.
yeah. So yeah, I think he is going to look to make a name for himself around this league.
Yeah, and for those who may not be aware, Mitchell Robinson has a contract of $1.8 million this season. The Knicks can extend him by the time October the 20th gets here. Mitchell Robinson could be extended. We don't know exactly what those numbers would be. I'm sure Mitchell Robinson and his agent are working with the New York Knicks right now to
Which
try
one?
to negotiate a fair contract for Mitchell Robinson in an extension, or Mitchell Robinson can decide to bet on himself and wait until the end of the season, become a free agent, and go out and try to get a contract.
Hey, Sam, which agent is this now?
Whichever agent he has right now. I don't know. I'm not even going to get into all of that. With the agent switches and stuff like that. I don't know the business side of it. And I know I smashed him for it before, right? Because I felt like there was always trouble in the Mitchell Robinson camp. But I'm not even going to go there because I don't want to give any ammunition to guys like Isaiah to say, see, you have something against Mitchell Robinson. Not going to do that.
We all know you do.
Everybody already knows. Everybody already knows the history of Mitchell Robinson and his agents. I don't think there's any reason to go there. Now, quickly, let's talk about Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel has a contract this season, maybe a little bit bigger than people thought he was going to get. Right now, it's obviously not the sizable contract that he thought he would be getting a few years ago when he declined, what was it, $100 million contract with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm pretty sure he thought, at this point in his career, he'd be making a lot more money. But Nerlens Noel signed a contract with the New York Knicks. He'll be making $8.8 million this year, $9.2 million next year. And then he has a $9.6 million team option for 2023 and 2024. All right, so what does this season mean for Nerlens Noel? And then after this, we can get into the whole debate about who should be the starting center. Isaiah, I'll start with you. What's this mean for Nerlens Noel this season and next season, I guess?
Yeah, so I think for Nerlens Noel, I think this is more about him. He finally has identified. He has a home. He's gotten his money. He can continue on the success that he had this previous season, and he can continue to grow. I think that's the most important thing for him is to, hopefully have a home and be comfortable and continue the role that he played last year.
Yeah, continue the role that he played last year. What role was that?
Coming off the bench.
Did he?
Yeah,
he came off the bench when Mitch was there, but obviously most of the season he was the starter because Mitch was down. And to be honest with you, Mitchell Robinson's injuries, they weren't really the fault of Mitchell most injuries, I guess, aren't the fault of that player, unless they did something crazy. Sometimes you got players that fall down steps and slip in the shower, and at least that's what comes out. You know what I'm saying? Mitchell Robinson's injuries were just, him playing the basketball game. He suffered some injuries. Can't hold that against him, except for if you say, he's injury prone, then, that's one thing. We don't know if he's going to definitely be injury prone throughout his career, but we'll take a dive into that as well. You know what I mean? I think it's something that's up in the air because Nerlens Noel did a very good job last season as the starting center. Mitchell Robinson obviously would have given us another dynamic offensively, because of what he can do, spreading the floor vertically. But Nerlens Noel did a pretty good job. And if he begins the season as the starter, I don't think anyone would complain about it. But we're going to get into it. Andy, what's this mean for Nerlens Noel?
Well, listen, Nerlens Noel at this point of his career is starting to be basically on the vet side of his NBA, career. It's going to be his 8th season. And he's 27, 28 years old only.
I think he's 27. I think he's going to be
27. So listen, he's basically going to the prime of his career. And as far as his position on the roster, I'm thinking he is trying to maybe not solidify, but he's going to give Mitchell Robinson a run for the center spot. I don't think the battle is settled at this point, but I think it's not like he's gonna, come into camp and be happy with the bench role, unless it's Tibbs that he already calls it. I think he's gonna be more of a team player and not going to be, trying hardly to be taking Mitch's minutes. But we'll talk about those minutes a little bit later on. As far as his NBA total career, I think, after 7 years in the NBA, he will try to improve in certain aspects of his individual game just to play, the next probably 7 seasons even in the NBA and get those contracts around the, probably the money that he's getting. And, after those next 7 years, basically getting 10 million, I think he's going to be happy with his NBA career.
Yeah. This is, I think, a prime time for Nerlens Noel. His career has been up and down, sometimes starting, sometimes coming off the bench. He came in kind of ballyhooed, right? When he came in with Philadelphia, when he was drafted by Philadelphia. This is a prime time for him to say and prove to people that he deserves to be a starting center in this league and can be a starting center for a very good basketball team. So I agree with you. I think he's definitely going to be, he's going to be gunning to be the starter. And I wouldn't expect anything less from him, than to be gunning to be the starter. But he will be. You can see on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, we have stats from last season. I'm going to read these stats out and just let me know, Andy, if anything jumps out at you with the stats that I'm going to read. You see, Nerlens Noel last season, he averaged 5.1 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks per game. He shot 61.4% from the field, 0% from three. Although he did attempt. Did he attempt a three? I think he attempted maybe 1 3. I don't remember. Maybe 1 3, I thought. He shoots 71.4% from the free throw line. Mitchell Robinson, he scored 8.3 points per game. He grabbed 8.1 rebounds per game, 1.5 blocks. He shot 65.3% from the field. Did not attempt a three. He was 0% from the three-point line, and he shot 49.1% from the free throw line. That is something that Mitchell Robinson is definitely going to have to improve throughout his career. He shot better in his rookie season than last year. Now, of course, he didn't get a lot of chances to play last year because of his, because of his injuries. He didn't get a lot of chances to play. In his rookie season, Mitchell Robinson shot 60% from the free throw line. In 2019, 2020, he shot 57%. And then last year, in 29 games, he shot 49%. I'm sorry, in 31 games, he shot 49%. Anything, Andy, jump out at you with those numbers?
Well, yeah, except the free throw percentages, which I knew that Mitch is a way worse free throw shooter and probably shooter all around. I'm surprised about the difference in the block category. Everybody's raving about Mitchell Robinson being the best blocker. He blocks 3-pointers under the rim. He's a threat. He makes, though he alters the shots and stuff like that. Meanwhile, in the stat sheet, 0.7 difference a block, per game. That's a huge thing, if you ask me. Then again, if we get down to the minutes that these guys play for the Knicks, doesn't matter if it's starter or off the bench, we will see that it's not the kind of amount of minutes that people probably think that a starting player should be playing.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I'm not really, to play a little devil's advocate to Andy, I'm not really concerned about the blocks really. The blocks really isn't the best indication of playing good defense. Because I remember like his first couple of years, I think he was like top 5 or whatever in leading the blocks, and his defense wasn't there. But I thought this year before he got hurt, he was doing a way better job at altering shots and doing more timely blocks, more better defensive blocks versus just going hunting the blocks that I think he was doing a little bit earlier in his career. That's why I said like the blocks to me weren't really I was actually fine with his production on the block and stuff like that because again, I felt he was in more control this season defensively than he was previous seasons.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think he was definitely in better control of himself defensively. And maybe he just didn't reach for as many blocks this year because he was trying to stay on the floor more. Maybe he didn't want to get jumpy in the air. I don't know. And maybe it's the Knicks defense was better, but then why would Nerlens Noel be getting 2.2 blocks per game, almost a 1 block difference per game? Either way, it was good for the Knicks to have 2 guys that can, alter shots and block shots when guys, when guards were coming down the lane or whatever it is, or be off ball, weak side block demons. That was a great luxury for the Knicks. I don't know what explains that. I don't know if it was just the circumstances of the game. Maybe when Mitchell Robinson played, he was a little more out on the perimeter guarding, defending on that screen and roll. Maybe he switched a little bit more than Nerlens Noel did. Those are some things that we can really dive into and look at sometime in the future. The biggest thing that jumps out to me, though, is the 3-point shooting. And that's a question I think everyone always asks, do we need a 3-point shooting center? And this doesn't work well for either one of the players, right? I'll just ask you really quick and give me a yes or no. Isaiah, do we need a 3-point shooting center?
A 3-point shooting center?
Yeah. When you look at these stats right here, they both shot 0% from the 3-point line. Is it necessary? Do we need one to spread that floor
No.
open? Okay, you say no. Andy?
I'm going to say no as well. And if I can say like one more sentence about this, I don't know if you guys recall the year that we had one defensive center and then we had Enes Kanter, and one didn't play offense, only played defense. The other one played only offense, didn't play defense for the Knicks. That was a huge thing as far as the rotations went because the Knicks were looking to change the whole offense around depending on the center position. And that was really wild, and we lost so many games because of that. Those adjustments being made and players not being concentrating, on their roles because of the lineups. That was awful. So having 2 centers with similar game for the Knicks and for Tibbs' system is a good thing. So,
hey, well, who was that center, by the way, Andy?
I think one was Kyle O'Quinn, and he was playing with Kanter as the backup with that one season. But before that, I'm gonna check who was actually the center.
Yeah, I forgot the defensive center. I remember. I do remember that though. I remember like Enes Kanter was the offensive guy. I forgot the defensive center. I really forgot.
Yeah. We got Gmo that just joined us. We're gonna get Gmo to jump in just a second. As we
My son.
Your son.
Yeah, that's my son right there. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, don't embarrass yourself. Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know why you would say something like that, but I'm just saying, don't do it to yourself, Isaiah. Come on,
you're my son too. Don't worry, you my son too, man.
Yeah, we know all about it. Well, actually, let me go ahead and get to Gmo. Gmo, go ahead, man. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good. Any initial thoughts on this topic? I'm about to move on to another set of graphics, but I just wanted to get some initial thoughts on this topic. First of all, anything that jumps out at you with these stats that's here that's on the screen, and these are just your basic Your basic stats: points, rebounds, blocks, field goal percentage, etc.
Yeah, I mean, for Mitchell Robinson, he was trending in the right direction last season. And he's probably going to average a double-double until the injury. I thought that, and I know you get to other stats, but I think it's Nerlens Noel obviously looks better as a rim protector, but Isaiah is right. I think Mitchell Robinson did show improvement, be able to stay on his feet a little bit more against many of the assignments that came his way. So yeah, overall, I just think it's kind of, the stats are maybe a little bit misleading regarding like the blocks and stuff like that. Mitchell Robinson's length and height is an issue. Something that we definitely could have used against the Hawks. Obviously, his hands are way better than Nerlens Noel. So, but yeah, I'll let you guys. And when you talk about the 3-point shooting center, would I like one? Obviously, it'd be nice to have that. But for Mitchell Robinson, he doesn't have to do that. I would like him to develop a shot, but Tom Thibodeau said it best last year. That if Mitchell Robinson needs to focus more so on like the basics, the fundamentals, if he get his free throw shooting up, which was abysmal at 49.1%, then we could possibly expand to other things. So, those things Mitchell Robinson has concern about. All that Sham God, the summer stuff, it means absolutely nothing. So,
okay, all right. Let's take a look at this here. Per 100 possessions in 2020, 2021, Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson. Nerlens Noel per 100 possessions averaged 10.5 points per game, 13.2 rebounds, 4.6 blocks. Within 100 possessions, he shot 61.4%. His offensive rating was 121, and his defensive rating was 101. That's within, that's per 100 possessions. Mitchell Robinson, he averaged 15 points per 100 possessions, 14.8 rebounds per 100 possessions, and he averaged 2.6 blocks. His field goal percentage was 65.3%, and his offensive rating was 131, and his defensive rating was 104. All right, but here's where things get a little bit interesting. These are per 100 possessions. Things get a little bit interesting here. All right, now these are defensive and offensive ratings with and without each player. Right, the Knicks' defensive and offensive ratings with and without each player. All right, so with Nerlens Noel, the Knicks' offensive rating is 110.7. That's with Nerlens Noel That's with Nerlens Noel playing. Okay, without Nerlens Noel, their offensive rating is 116.3. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Mitchell Robinson, with Mitchell Robinson, their offensive rating is 108.5. That's with Mitchell Robinson playing. And then without Mitchell Robinson playing, their offensive rating is 113.5. Okay, now, so what is surprising there is that when you look at the offensive rating with Nerlens Noel and with Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks as a team, their offensive rating is about 2 points better with Nerlens Noel than with Mitchell Robinson. All right, when you look at the defensive rating with Nerlens Noel, the Knicks defensive rating is 108.6, and their defensive rating without Nerlens Noel is 111.6. And with Mitchell Robinson, the defensive rating with Mitchell Robinson is 108.2, and without Mitchell Robinson is 109.5. All right, now, so it seems like with these numbers, there's a little bit bigger difference when Nerlens Noel, at least on the defensive side, is not on the floor, right? But one of the asterisks, I think, when you look at Mitchell Robinson's numbers is that when Mitchell Robinson maybe was not either on the floor or in the game or playing, Nerlens Noel may have been there. But see, Mitchell Robinson missed so much time, right? So these numbers could be a little bit different. But that offensive rating, that's interesting to me. Now, it's a 2-point difference. I don't know if, how much that means to you or not. But I think these are some interesting numbers between the two players, and kind of skews, in my opinion, towards Nerlens Noel. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson only played, certain number of games last year, so you don't have a huge sample size of what Mitchell Robinson. He played 31 games last year. You don't have a great sample size of what Mitchell Robinson might have done, if he played the amount of games that Nerlens Noel did. Andy, your thoughts on any of these stats here?
Well, listen, I think debating the stats from last year compared to this upcoming season with two new players offensively gifted, it's not like baseless, but I think that the offense is going to be somewhat different. That these numbers are going to get way different in this season, this upcoming season. But it's actually like you say. I think it points more to Nerlens Noel than to Mitch.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a huge difference, but still, right?
I mean, at least looking right here, at this particular stat right here, the other stats I think maybe favor Mitch. It's hard to say. It's tough. I mean, for the most part, they're pretty much even. Now when Mitchell Robinson played without Nerlens Noel, because a lot of Nerlens Noel's numbers are going to be without Mitchell Robinson. When Mitchell Robinson played without Nerlens Noel, the Knicks record was 4-2. He played 6 games without Nerlens Noel there out on the floor. The Knicks averaged 109.8 points per game, and the opponents averaged 107.8 points per game. That's with Mitchell Robinson and without Nerlens Noel playing at all, not even at the backup spot. Again, the Knicks were 4-2 during that time. They averaged 109.8 points per game, and they gave up 107.8 points per game. So this is going to be a tough one. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think. I believe it's going to end up being Mitchell Robinson because he's bigger. But I don't think it's going to just be like that. I think there's going to be a lot that the coaching staff has to look at. Isaiah, jump in here, man, because I know you probably think I'm crazy. You probably think I'm just trying to find a way to gear things towards Mitchell Robinson. But as you've seen throughout my whole time giving stats, it's not been that way. So see, I took all his fire. He tried to come in with fire before we even jumped on and said, you ready for this? You ready for that? But see, he has no fire. Because I'm an objective person.
I always got fire, man. I mean, listen, the show just started, man. We know you really don't like Mitchell Robinson, but so we know it's gonna come out later. Don't you worry, it's gonna come out later. But no, seriously though, man, I will have to say though, I do have to agree with Andy. I think this year, with the additions of, Fournier, Kemba Walker, and you got another year of D Rose, you got the upcoming sophomores of like Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin. I mean, you have a lot of, knock on wood, you have a lot of offense on paper. So I think the numbers will be affected by what Mitchell Robinson and Nolan Noel do offensively this season with the production that we've seen. And again, when it came to Mitchell Robinson's, what I seen, the offense production was just, I think he had a better radius of catching the ball. And like Guillermo said, I mean, we all pretty much know, we all know the memes of Nolan Noel hands and him, catching balls and all that stuff. So, when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, man, this year coming up, I think it's going to be a lot different. I think you're going to see more of, I don't want to put a ceiling on him, but I think you're going to see a lot of more what he was doing before he got injured. The putbacks, the alley-oops. I mean, hopefully, I would love to see him with a jump hook this season. I would love to see that, maybe a little jump hook. And maybe a mid-range, one attempt, something like around that. Love to see that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think we're seeing that from Mitchell Robinson. We can, just like you were saying the other day. We keep hoping for this player to do this and do that. I don't think we're seeing it from Mitch. I don't think we're gonna see maybe a jump hook. I don't think we're gonna see any mid-range shots.
And to be honest with you, Sam, I'll be real with you. I would be cool with just the jump hook. I'd be cool with a jump hook.
I mean, I could see us, see him developing a jump hook, and hopefully he develops some moves down low, so that you could go to him a little bit without it being, just straight alley-oops all the time. Andy brought it up. When you look at these two guys, a lot of things are going to be dependent upon how they fit into the offense, right? Guillermo, How do you think, with the addition of Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker, what's going to be the difference between these two guys fitting into the offense?
Well, I would say Mitch would probably be the better fit because you can actually run pick and rolls away from Randall, right? Last season, our offense kind of got bogged down to basically Randall. How many times in the playoffs or even just during the regular season, you couldn't run really a pick and roll because Nerlens Noel was so bad with his hands, right? The rolls, and sometimes he would stop and be tentative because he just couldn't fit. He couldn't grab the freaking basketball. So Mitch Robinson definitely provides. And another thing with Mitch Robinson too, I mean, the radius that he provides in the air. Think of the errant passes that so many guys have made and Mitch Robinson's been able to finish.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at our offense just in general, we didn't really have much versatility outside of Randall, post up, kick out, some pick and roll, some horns. But other than that, not much. And one thing real quick on the offensive rating. So it's going to be skewed, right? Because typically when those guys played, they weren't playing with Rose, right? So when Rose is in a game, I think we have one of the best benches in the league. So I would think that when those two were off with no starting and Mitchell starting, the offensive rating is going to suffer just because our bench was probably a little bit more prolific with Rose. But Nerlens Noel just offensively, he provides us very little. You have to take into account also Mitchell Robinson is one of the best offensive rebounders in the game, right? So granted, we needed that a lot more last season, but even this season, when you're talking about cohesion and chemistry, some guys are going to be taking some errant shots, some bad shots. And for Mitch Robinson to provide us those second chance points would definitely provide cover for the Knicks, for the team. So I just think Mitch Robinson is a way better fit offensively for the offense than Nerlens Noel.
What about defense?
Even without a jumper or a hook shot or
what about defensively with now you got Kemba Walker, you got Evan Fournier. One could say there may be a few more forays to the basket by opposing guards. What about the defensive fit? Do you still think it's Mitchell Robinson over Nerlens Noel?
So I'll say about Mitchell Robinson, in the pick and roll defense, he was actually pretty good. And he was better than Taj, and he was better than Nerlens Noel. And the reason why is because, and granted, he did have issues last season in terms of footwork communication. But when you look at the size that he provides, like it's an issue when, say, for instance, a guy like Trae Young comes off the screen. He has to account for the fact that Mitchell Robinson is 7'3" or whatever he is, and can basically block those mid-range shots and a lot of those attempts that he likes to take in the mid-range, right? So I can let Trae Young get a little bit deeper into the zone versus Derrick Rose trying to recover and then fouling him like he did in that third game. We didn't have an answer for Trae Young defensively. Nerlens Noel, as good as he's been at the rim, he's always been a good defender. Mitchell Robinson's size just provides issues for the defense. Now, Mitchell Robinson has to do a better job of resetting onto his man, defending the centers, because he got abused against Sabonis. He got abused against Andre Drummond. He got abused.
Jokic.
He got abused by Embiid. Even though I think Embiid was a little bit different because they actually switched. They played away from Embiid until Nerlens Noel came in. Then they played more on Embiid, went to abuse Noel. And Rudy Gobert as well too. So Mitchell Robinson, the added weight, theoretically, you're hoping helps, but I still think just having him in the passing or in the lanes after the pick is just an issue. You can't teach that type of size and athleticism. Hopefully, he doesn't lose it with the injury, but I still would prefer him, overall over Nerlens Noel.
Andy, anything you want to jump in there as far as their fit offensively and defensively? Then I'm gonna come to you, Isaiah.
Well, Sim, for me, I think the opposite way, like Guillermo. I think for the starting unit, as far as let's call it, the fifth option in the 5-man, being on the court, it's actually means way less than we think, because I rather take every other person on the court taking a shot for me than Mitch or the Nerlens. So saying that this guy fits more, it's in the minutes, the difference in the minutes that they're going to be playing, it's going to be so little, and the difference is going to be basically invisible as far as I think as it goes. Does Mitchell Robinson, is a bigger alley-oop threat? Probably. Considering Nerlens Noel, Butterfingers. But how many of those alley-oops are we gonna be running? Having 4 guys on the court that can score the ball from several positions. It's not going to be the offense from last year where, we had like one guy with the ball creating and playmaking and the other guy being capable of putting the scoring burden on himself. No, this time those guys are just the 5th man on the court with basically 4 guys playing great offense. And I actually think it would be way better for Mitchell Robinson to play with the second unit. He would get way more opportunities, and he would benefit way more from playing with D-Rose than Nerlens Noel. So for me, it's like a 50-50 situation here. So
Yeah, I would. Well, you could go ahead, Gilmore. Go ahead, Gilmore.
Just real quick. So 2 things. So I was wrong. He's actually average against a pick and roll, Mitchell Robinson defensively. And the thing about it offensively, so if you think about it, we have a few new guys coming onto the team, right? But think about it. Kemba Walker is not, because of the knee issue, he's not going to be able to play as explosively as he has done in years prior. You saw last year, he struggled, right? But he fed off of the pick and roll. RJ Barrett, they utilize RJ Barrett in the pick and roll and the little pistol triangle action they run up top. Evan Fournier can play off the ball, but he's ranks really well in the pick and roll as well too. So you have a bunch of guys, IQ, Derrick Rose, but just in the starting lineup, you have 3 guys who are going to utilize the pick and roll. Either Tom Thibodeau's been doing that, or they've been doing that for their careers. And Kemba Walker, because he can't go one-on-one. If you look at his free throw draw, he's not attacking guys like he did years prior, right? Those numbers have been going down. So they need the pick and roll. So I know it sounds crazy, but the Knicks are going to probably run pick and roll, whether it's in a set by itself or part of a larger scheme. So Mitchell Robinson is going to be very important. I think that our offense, once Mitchell Robinson was out, our offense was one of the worst last season. It's just that Randall had such an absurd season that it was good enough to carry him, and Rose were able to carry us into the playoffs with one of the top defenses. But this season, you have a bunch of guys who need it. So I think Mitch Robinson is going to be extremely important to what we run offensively. It's not going to just be Evan Fournier dribbling by himself. And even look at Team Friends, how they ran pick and roll with Evan Fournier and Gobert. You know what I mean? So,
but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If you say that one of the key factors in the pick and roll working is having that guard be able to attack the basket, right? And if you're saying that Kemba Walker is not going to be attacking the basket as much.
Well, no. So what I mean by that is like by himself. I mean like in isolation. Like he's not, just because of the knee issue, and if you look at some of the numbers last season, he in isolation, one-on-one is not going to be, okay, toss it to Kemba Walker, and he's going to be doing this, 10 times out the game. Like he's going to be able to carry us, take us through bad spots. Like he might even be a little bit worse than, say, Derrick Rose. Because if you look at the last 2 years, he ran pick and roll with the Celtics close to 50% of the time. I mean, so he and granted, his first season in Boston, isolation was a lot better because, his knee wasn't as bad. Now, I know people tell him, oh, he's healthy or whatever. Arthritis does not really get the condition get better, but it does not improve. So I'm expecting it to probably be somewhere in the middle between last season and the year before. But I see Kemba Walker using pick and roll a lot. And they ran it a lot they ran the same kind of horns play in Boston where there's 2 guys up top and he chooses whichever side and he runs the screen off of them. So expect them to use that a lot this season because they have to preserve him. I'm not going to have him go out there and bust his knee out because I asked him to go one-on-one. I'm going to be doing everything to keep him, play him off the ball a lot, which you can do. I'm going to do everything to try to preserve Kemba Walker.
I mean, I agree. I think he is going to be using screen and roll a lot, but, still attacking the basket off the screen and roll is going to be essential. And also having someone that you can not just lob to, but someone you can pick and pop to as well, which, both of these players, Mitchell Robinson's not really going to do anything in the pick and pop. Nerlens Noel can do a little bit more, right? We've seen him knock down the mid-range jump shot, and Nerlens Noel is not going to be as effective in the screen and roll. Which to me is one of the reasons why there still is a question to see which guy works better with Kemba Walker.
Well, then you also forgot one name, right? I mean, Randall. Randall's your pick and pop option. Randall also needs to pick and roll too. And I know it's between Nerlens Noel and Mitch, but let's be honest. I mean,
so
do you think Mitchell Robinson? I'm not saying he hasn't, but at this point, it's like unless I see his free throw percentage up, and he's actually doing the things that Tom Thibodeau asked him to kind of do last season, I'm not really banking on him to really provide us even that pick and pop option. I'm not sure if Tom Thibodeau trusts him enough. I know he's been working with Johnny Bryant, but up to this point, I might have been really putting that on Mitchell Robinson. Would I hope he would do it? Yeah, but I mean.
So if you're going to be running, and I'm going to come to Andy after this, but I'm going to just ask you really quick.
Okay.
If you're going to be running, and I did forget about you, Isaiah. We'll come to Isaiah, and then we'll come to Andy. I did forget about you.
This is what happens when I let Guillermo go. This is what happens when I let
He said, but Sim was going to move on, but he had to come back to insult you and then continue with the
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm used to it now. That's all right.
Yeah, this is abuse, man.
But if you're going to have Randall and Kemba doing a pick and pop or pick and roll, Randall and Kemba doing a pick and pop or pick and roll to the basket, which player is going to be more effective on the floor with them two guys running a pick and pop or pick and roll? Which guy is going to be more effective on the floor between Mitch and Nerlens?
I'll say Mitch, because Mitch, again, we kill Mitch, and I know there's something he has work on. He's one of the best offensive rebounds in the game. Say what you want, and he has he's up there regarding offensive box outs. Given Mitch Robinson, the kid is much improved in some certain things. I know we get mad at him, but I need a guy who could be there and give me second chance points. I need a guy that he's going to have 2-3 guys draped on him in the paint because they're all trying to get the rebound, and he's sitting there tipping it and be able to get us second chance points and put back plays. I mean, Nerlens Noel, as much as I like him, he can't provide that. I mean, so I'd rather have Mitchell Robinson there to provide second chance points.
Yeah, last season, Mitchell Robinson gave us 3.6 offensive rebounds per game, and Nerlens Noel gave us 2.2 offensive rebounds per game. Isaiah, go ahead.
Oh, my God. So I really do believe, what this is kind of, I don't know what Game was saying. So when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, I think he's going to be more fitted for the first unit. Because I like to say what you said earlier about, Kemba's, I hate to say this, Kemba's not going to be Elfrid Payton on defense. So he's not going to, there's going to be some players that are definitely going to get past Kemba, and Mitchell Robinson's going to have to clean it up. But I'd rather have him with the first unit than the kind of projected, let's just say we have a projected second unit of, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, Alec Burks, and Nerlens Noel. I would rather have Nerlens Noel with the second unit because I think that unit is going to be more offensively. They're going to be good offensively, but defensively, I'm kind of iffy on that. So I'd rather have Nerlens Noel on the second unit if they had a projected second unit with them, and I would rather have Mitchell Robinson with the first unit that at least has, Julius Randle's a decent defender, RJ's a good defender. I don't know how good Evan Fournier. I don't really pay attention to him that much. I don't know if Evan Fournier is a good defender or a decent one, but I'd rather have Mitchell Robinson with that unit versus the second unit that's probably most likely going to be a little less defensive. It's going to be defensively challenged.
I mean, both of these guys are good defensive centers. So,
But I'm saying, I feel like, to me with Mitchell Robinson, he has improved, like Guillermo said, but, sometimes he still does the jumpy fouls and everything. But I'd rather you have a lesser chance of doing the jumpy fouls with the first unit than the second unit, because I said before, because if we're projecting Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin is probably going to be leading the second unit. Those guys they're not the best defenders. So I'd rather have Nerlens Noel, who's a little more, I won't say he's a better defender, but he's good at where he won't be doing the jump fouls and everything like that.
I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying there. I get what you're saying. When you look at, obviously the first unit's changed, so who's going to be better defensively from the guard standpoint between those two units? I think that's yet to be seen, really.
I mean, let's be honest. I think that part, between the first and second unit, defense is not going to be their calling cards. But that's what happens when you get, sometimes that's what happens when you get offensive players.
Well, yeah, we know, and that's why we're discussing who fits better in that starting lineup. Obviously defense is going to play a part, but who can we know Mitchell Robinson scored more points because of the alley-oop. But, again, I'll bring it back over there one more time. The offensive rating with Nerlens Noel was 110.7, and with Mitchell Robinson is 108.5. That's the team. That's the team's offensive rating. That's the team's offensive rating, not the individual offensive rating, the team's offensive rating. So it is about how the team scores and not just the individual.
Hey, Sammy, and I promise you, I don't know how you did this, and you can't make this kind of stuff up, but I literally just got a notification from Bleacher Report. And what it says is, Nick's big man says, and this is Mitchell Robinson, he says he's put on 60 pounds of muscles in 2 years with a little bit of fat mixed in. LOL. Can't make this up. We're talking about him, and
Well, it did come out today where Julius Randle, did an interview with SNY, and he talked about how Mitchell Robinson has bulked up. That's another thing we got to see. Hopefully, it's been a slow build where he's been able to gain some muscle, learn how to use it. Gain some muscle, learn how to use it. Gain some muscle, learn how to use it. And it's not just all at once and he doesn't know how to use it. You know what I mean? Andy, I know you were probably going to respond to Guillermo, and he jumped out before you got a chance to respond to him.
He was scared of you.
He didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
He knew you was about to hit him with something, but you can go ahead and he can, respond or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Guillermo talking about, Mitchell Robinson working well in the pick and roll with the starting lineup and stuff like that. We got to ask ourselves a question. For every 10 pick and roll plays that the Knicks will play, right? How many of those will be played for Mitch, and how many of those as the big man are going to be played for Randle? You guys think it's going to be 50-50, or it's going to be more like 80, like 80% for Randle and 20% for Mitch?
As far as pick and roll, pick and pop?
Yeah.
How much was Randle used in pick and roll last year? Obviously, we have a different point guard, but how much was he used in pick and roll last year?
Listen, for me, it looked like it was almost every offense that Randle was used in pick and roll or without pick and roll. But I didn't see that many plays, being played and just Randle being waved off to the weak side. So,
Oh no, he was always part of the offense. I mean, just like a straight up pick and roll where he was setting he was setting the screen at the top of the key. The guard was coming off and looking for him either rolling or popping. You know what I mean? That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, so for me, I think the amount of pick and roll played just for Mitch to be the scorer and the big man in the pick and roll is not going to be that much. So again, we're just talking about like maybe 5, maybe 6 times a game. And even him considering play, getting that 70%, of shooting percentage, it's going to be like barely 10 points. So, I would love them. And I know Guillermo is going to smile when he's going to watch this, for the Knicks to use the Spain pick and roll, which Randle would be the screener for Mitch to go down, downhill and get that, rebound. Because I love, I know that Guillermo loves that Spain pick and roll, play, which he, mentions every podcast now. So
he does do this. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, Eddie. He really does say Spain pick and roll like every podcast.
I told him that 2 years ago. Now he's, every podcast. 2021 came and he's every podcast. He's talking about this.
Listen, when we get a chance to actually get everybody together and play some ball, he better know how to do that Spanish pick and roll. If he don't know how to do that Spanish pick and roll on the court, we gonna blow his spot up.
On every position.
I'm not gonna lie, yo. I feel like Guillermo the type of dude you ball with. You just hate playing with him because you got to be technical at everything you do. I can't play with a dude like Guillermo, man, because he don't want to have no fun. We gotta score. Look, get on the left side. Yeah. See, that's why I don't like playing with y'all.
And see. But listen. Lex the Destroyer, he said Randall's more pick and pop. Quiet Money said Randall never rolls off the pick. These things are all true, right? So it's always, just about always pick and pop for Julius Randle. So if it's pick and pop for Julius Randle,
just the pick play, right? Just the pick play.
Right,
I don't see us, giving more chances than, if they have to play the pick. If it's roll or if it's pop, I don't see them, splitting the, between Randall and Mitch, splitting it 50-50. I think it's going to be way more.
That's true.
So
that's true. But
yeah, so we're still,
if it's going to be pick and pop for Julius Randle and he's popping, then you probably want to have Mitch rolling from the weak side to the basket, right? So that would kind of benefit Mitchell Robinson a little bit more than it does Nerlens Noel. Now, if Julius Randle was the kind of guy that's going to roll to the basket on every play, then you might consider Nerlens Noel because, he can at least isn't afraid to shoot that mid-range shot, and he can knock it down when he does shoot it. I'd like to see him shoot it more, to tell you the truth. It's hard to say what this offense is going to be like with the addition of Kemba Walker because, coming off that screen and roll, he can put pressure on the defense, right? He can make the defense have to collapse on him, even if he's not penetrating every single time. He can knock down the mid-range, which Elfrid Payton, wasn't doing. Okay, he's going to be able to finish at the basket. So that's going to change the way that defenses defend our screen and roll with Mitch or with Nerlens Noel, right? And what it may really end up with is somebody wide open in the corner, RJ Barrett wide open in the corner because defenses have to pinch, right? Kemba comes off the screen. Mitch or Nerlens rolls to the basket. The defense is pinch in, and those two corners are open. So Evan Fournier or RJ Barrett in those two corners or Julius Randle. You know what I mean?
And Sim, Sim, and definitely, man, with what you're saying, because again, to me, one of the biggest thing with Kemba is just the respect around the league that this man has offensively. That's going to open up so much time, like you said, the corners. Because again, for the last 2 years, the last couple of years for the Knicks, especially the point guard position has not been a threat of offense coming towards it. Because again, between Dennis Smith, Emmanuel Quickly, Frank, Elfrid Payton, I think it hasn't been this like since Alexei Sev, that's his name. But we just haven't had a threat just of respect around the league that Kemba will bring, especially on that pick and, like you said, the pick and roll and him threat of crashing down, going to the basket or popping. So again, with and also too, I'm thinking about this often. If we had to project, 10 points from Mitchell Robinson might be pretty big, because again, you expect that you got RJ and Randall giving you about the 20-something points. Then you got probably Kemba. You got Kemba and Fournier projecting how we got them projected right now, giving us around that 15 to 17, 18 range. And then right there, what you got, like what, almost 60, 70 points when you start in 5? 80 maybe? So
some fans are going to say that Mitch is going to be like 15. The rest of the guys are going to be 20 or plus. So it's going to be over 100 basically.
From the starting.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Now, in the chat,
we ain't Golden State.
Shout out to the Queen's Court. She said, is that due to spacing? I think she was talking about Julius Randle always popping instead of rolling. Is it due to spacing? Because you have Mitch and you have Nerlens Noel down there who are not spreading the floor. So both of those guys are kind of in that dunker spot. You know what I mean? So it does make it difficult for either one of those guys, or it makes it difficult for Randle to roll to the basket because those guys are standing in that dunker spot. Neither one of them are spacing the floor out to the three-point line. You know what I'm saying? So it does make it difficult for Julius Randle to roll to the basket, when those guys are in the game, which is one of the reasons why, people talk about Obi Toppin playing the 4 and Julius Randle playing the small ball 5. You really can only do that when you're playing against another small lineup. But the fact that Obi Toppin can at least be reputable, or maybe maybe I shouldn't say reputable. He can at least be decent from the 3-point line. Defenses have to respect it. You know what I'm saying? And spread it out just a little bit more, which would give more room for Randall to roll to the basket. I get afraid, though. When I think about Randall rolling to the basket, I get a little bit nervous. You know what I'm saying? Because, he's like a Brahma bull. You know what I mean? He's not going to be real light on his feet. So if he's rolling to the basket, I get nervous he's going to pick up offensive fouls. You know what I mean?
He will, definitely. And that's easy to read, Sim. Because he, like you said, he's built like a bull. So every time the guy's not gonna even put their hands up, they're just gonna stand for the charge there.
Right. So I do get nervous with him rolling to the basket. I don't know, ladies.
Not to mention if he reverts to the spin move, Sim.
Right.
After the roll, bro.
It's gonna be good competition, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's gonna be really good competition. With Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel at that center spot, battling it out. They battled it out last year. Mitchell Robinson won out. Although I thought last year that Nerlens Noel was going to take that spot. I really did. I thought he was going to start off begin the season as the starting center, and then maybe Mitchell Robinson, if he didn't get injured, would make his way into that starting spot. I just thought that Nerlens Noel had better fundamentals, could set screens a little bit better. I didn't expect that he couldn't catch the ball, though. Not like he did last year. I mean, he was terrible.
Yeah, that was terrible. Jesus,
terrible catching. It was like, oh my goodness, man, come on.
And you know what's crazy, Sam? And what used to make me mad the most was like, it would be like, we'll be down like 2 or 3. Somebody will do the cut, get the perfect pocket pass to Nerlens Noel. He's right there, and then he just fumbles the ball and goes out of bounds. You're like, yo, what are you doing? Or like, if he does get it, they'll strip him.
Yeah,
he made his stone hands the worst possible time when we needed him to score. That used to drive me crazy the whole season when he did that.
And it makes it hard for a guard to want to pass you the ball. If you feel like, there's a 30% chance that this guy might drop it, because to me, that's a high percentage when it comes to catching the basketball. If there's a 30% chance that you might drop the ball, I don't want to pass it to you, because that's too high of a percentage. I need it to be like a, a 0.01% that you're going to drop the ball when I pass it to you.
The funny thing is, too, Sam, is that if we notice this, could you imagine, Derrick Rose and paying on those guys that had to deal with that throughout the whole season, and they can't go to the media and say those type of things, right. Of course, naturally, but it's like frustrating because it's like, we all seen it. We all seen that, like, and I think, what's funny, Sam, if I'm not mistaken, there was this like little thing where somebody wrote Nerlens Noel about that, and he kind of cussed him out I think somebody sent him a DM like, yo, bro, like, catch the effing ball, and then it was like a whole thing, but
no, I didn't catch that. But
it might have been me. I might have did it.
It might have been. That means he felt some kind of way about it. You know what I mean? It means he felt some kind of way about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open. 516-405-2246. I want to know what you think about it. Who's going to start at center? Is it going to be Nerlens Noel? Is it going to be Mitchell Robinson? Calling you live. What's popping with you? Tell me your name and where you're from.
Hey, how's it going, Sim panel? How's everybody going?
Pretty good.
This
pretty
is Red
good. How are
BX. Give you a quick call. This is a topic that I've always wanted to talk about. Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel. I look at the two of them that they're so equal in their skill set that it's hard for you to make a decision on what you want to do. Do you want to go with the upside because they're so equal, they're so compatible? Or do you want to go with the veteran presence because you know what he's going to provide to you every night?
Mm.
I was always a person who thought Mitch did not have to get re-signed because I thought what he brought to the table was something that we can actually go out, we could find, we could use, we could let that person go, find someone else who does the same thing, rim runner, protect the paint. But then I saw something last year when he got hurt in that game that I really didn't see the length of time since Mitch been in New York. Mitch actually dominated the game. We haven't seen a big man dominate the interior of the paint like that since Patrick Ewing. I'm talking about he just dominated that game. He was a menace on defense. He was a menace on the offensive end. He was grabbing all the rebounds. He's catching drop-off passes, alley-oop passes. He's keeping his man at bay where he can't close out to block the shot at the rim because his man is scared because Mitch done caught 2 oops. And when I seen that, I started to think to myself, well, wow, Mitch might be somebody that we should bring back. It's not just a projection. It's not just a possible talent. He actually showed it. Yeah, I like to see him catch a jump hook. Yeah, I like to see him take the ball from the foul line, put it on the floor one time, try to finish at the rim or get fouled. I like to see him do little things like that just so that he can be an offensive presence. But the fact of his upside after that, and it was only one game, but everything else up into that one game, you saw potential. He'll do well. He may do something foolish, but it looked like he came back off that initial injury and he seen what Nerlens Noel was doing, and he said, you know what, I gotta play for real, and I can't be playing around now. And he tried to go all out that game, and he showed me something that makes me know he should be the starter because he has tremendous upside, his age, but also because Nerlens Noel is there so that if he goes back to his foolery, you can say, okay, well, we thought we saw something, but it was just like an inconsistent situation. So I would say start Mitch because his upside, just off of that game alone, when he just dominated. I've never seen Mitch dominate. I'm talking about he dominated the game where the other team really had to focus on him now, which made everybody else's jobs a lot easier. And I don't think Nerlens Noel could give us anything like that, what I've seen in that game.
Right. No.
So just off the fact of that, I think they should give Mitch the start. I'm not saying roll with him the whole season if he starts the foolery. I'm just saying give Mitch the start because his upside is tremendous. And we saw something in Mitch. And I think Mitch he feel the pressure now. And I think that he's going to give us something better this year. At least in the beginning of the season, I think that Mitch is ready.
Okay. All right. Listen, he's had a good amount of time to sit, watch the game, study the game, prepare, get his body right. So, I'm hoping that he comes back because obviously he has way more upside than Nerlens Noel. He's younger than Nerlens Noel. He's way more athletic than Nerlens Noel. So his upside, is just, 10 times that of Nerlens Noel. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so hopefully, he's able to bring it. Hey, I appreciate your call, man. Thank you for your time. I
appreciate you taking the call, man. You
All
take
right.
care of yourself.
Appreciate
Be
it.
safe.
And looking at the poll that's in the YouTube chat, Mitchell Robinson, 77% of the people who voted in the poll believe that Mitchell Robinson will start. 14% say Nerlens Noel. 4% says Taj Gibson. And 6% says Jericho Sims will be the starter this season. Get to a phone call here. Caller, you live. What's popping with you, man? This Kareem, what's going on with you, brother?
How's it going, man? Yeah, so putting my number out there, man. The feds is watching. Got my 10 for you.
Hello?
What's up, son? How's it going?
I don't know what's going on. What's up? Hey, what's up with you, brother? How you feeling, man?
Why can we whisper
man.
it,
I'm
though?
copacetic, man. Got my 10 for you hat on. You putting out my number. Nah, I'm messing with you, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So talk to me, man. What do you think? What's going to go on this season between Mitch and Nerlens Noel?
Well, I will say this. You made a great point about him being able to move and play with that new weight he put on. So I think, preseason is going to play a key part in who starts between the two. So I believe they'll be evaluated. Of course, they'll be put in multiple lineups. And, may the best man win.
Yeah. Do you think there's a coming into camp? Do you think Tom Thibodeau kind of says, yeah, Mitch is my starter. Nerlens Noel is going to have to knock him out? You know, I mean, listen, with Julius Randle, it's that way. With R.J. Barrett, it's that way. With Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker, it's that way. Do you think it's that way with Mitchell Robinson, or is it still up in the air for Tom Thibodeau?
Well, I will say it's up in the air because Mitch was injured last year. So, and when he went down, like, we got to admit, even though this dude didn't have good hands on Noel, he did put up a fighting case of, maybe him being a starter. He did step up. He surprised me. So I believe if Mitch doesn't get injured last year, yeah, he would have the solidified spot, more than likely. But since he's had that injury, he's going to have to be assessed, in preseason and also training camp as well.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt, especially with the weight, the muscle. I guess, according to Mitchell Robinson, it's a mixture between muscle and fat. You know what I mean? I mean, it kind of makes sense that it would be a mixture of muscle and fat, because I don't think you can gain just straight up that much muscle in a short period of time unless you're doing, something that you're not supposed to be doing. So you can put muscle on and you can put some fat on to get the weight mass.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's solidified. Like, once we get to training camp and preseason, I'm pretty sure the coaching staff, will be looking. And also I believe that the trainers are going to be looking at Mitchell Robinson along with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So he's going to have that double scope on him. And, I believe he can get it. It's up for grabs, But I got to admit, man, when Mitch went down, my dude Noel was like really stepped up and made a fighting case.
Yeah, he stepped up. He stepped up, man, and played really good basketball. Really good basketball.
Yeah.
In games that Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson, in the games that Nerlens Noel played and Mitchell Robinson did not play, the Knicks were 24-15.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good record. Obviously, there's other things. You had Derrick Rose playing in the beginning of the season. The Knicks were a little shaky. They got hot at the end of the season. So all of those things come into play. But the facts are the facts, and the stats are the stats. And all we can do is go.
And one more thing, too. I do agree. I believe Isaiah made the point. Or Gilmo may have made the point as well. But like they probably said, both two different things in regards to this. Mitch being 7'3" is just different than a Noel's that's 6'10". I agree with that.
That's true.
And we already, pretty sure a lot of us said on the show that if we had Mitch in that Atlanta series, we may have won a few more games, or at least made it tough for this dude to live in that mid-range. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kareem, hey, I appreciate your time.
Hey, can I ask one thing about Kareem?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Isaiah. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was Guillermo who said that, not Isaiah.
Guillermo, yeah.
Don't mix them up. Wow. Don't let Isaiah take somebody else's credit. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Man, y'all don't never want me to be great, man. So Kareem, I gotta ask you, man. Who's getting the barbecue chicken award, Noel or Mitchell Robinson? Who's gonna get the barbecue chicken award?
Well, as Andy said it, man, they're both, to me, like, if not equally important. Like, we definitely gonna need their interior presence, because we don't know how Fournier and Kemba is gonna fare, staying in front of opposing guards. So we're definitely gonna need these dudes in that backcourt, to really help us. Defend that rim.
Right.
Kareem, you giving me a political answer. Right. I didn't ask for the political answer. I want the barbecue chicken award. I need to know who's gonna get it.
Isaiah.
Well, I don't know, bro. They're both almost. They both have the same similar skill sets. It's not, one doesn't really outshine the other, unless Mitch comes in and just has a great season finally.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope, man. Let's hope. Hey, Kareem, I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kareem. I appreciate the clear answer.
All right, peace.
All right, bro.
Let me ask you this: do we really want to have two guys with chopsticks for legs in that second unit. Obi Toppin and Nerlens Noel. You know what I'm saying?
That's a skinny.
These guys got chopsticks. Nerlens Noel is worse than Obi,
Toothpicks even.
but sheesh. I think Nerlens Noel might be a little worse than Obi Toppin as far as them chopsticks for legs, man.
And so, what I was just thinking, man, and Kareem made me kind of think about something. And Guillermo and all the guys, you guys were talking about it. I wouldn't be mad this season, right? Because the last season, we were a very heavy defensive team. But in the playoffs, it kind of showed that when we couldn't play bully defense and stuff like that, you seen what the Hawks did. And I guess individually, they weren't great defenders. Like, of course, Trae Young, we know he's bad. Danilo Gallinari is a terrible defender. But, they had a plan. They had a scheme which pretty much Clint Capella was the anchor of them, and they got all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and pretty much what 1 game, 2 games away from actually going to the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. Could you see the Knicks? I'm not saying the Knicks are going to go to East Conference Finals, but could you see the Knicks with the players that we have? Because again, our players individually aren't great defenders. But could you see the scheme that Tom Thibodeau have, and we kind of do what the Hawks kind of did in that sense of a way with Mitchell Robinson or Nerlens Noel as an anchor?
I think so. I think that, the defensive scheme is going to be key. They're going to have to play good team defense. And I think we got guys smart enough in that starting lineup, whether you have Mitch or Nerlens Noel. Both guys are good at using their length to play defense. Mitchell Robinson obviously has, a little more length than Nerlens Noel. You're going to have to play a team style of defense, and I think you have the pieces to do it because Kemba and Evan Fournier and RJ Barrett, in my opinion, have good IQs offensively and defensively. Having an IQ offensively or defensively is different than having the ability, to execute. Those two things are a little bit different, but I think they have good basketball IQs. So a team style of defense, I think, is definitely plausible. I do want to say before I get the caller that's on the line, to Raymond Leonard, Raymel Leonard. He was saying he was talking to Queens Court. He said, I think it is a bit Noel up the defense, but Mitch could still do that and give us another piece offensively this year. We aren't relying solely on defense to win the basketball game. I think maybe their conversation was that, why are we having this conversation? Why are we talking about this? I think maybe that's what Raymel was maybe saying a little bit. But I'll tell you why we're talking about this, Raymel, because, last season, Nerlens Noel, he held the fort down while Mitchell Robinson was out. And, like I said, the Knicks were 24-15 with Nerlens Noel and no Mitchell Robinson, 24-15. They were 4-2 with Mitchell Robinson starting at center spot. The defense was a little bit better with Nerlens Noel than with Mitchell Robinson. Right? The team offense was a little bit better with Nerlens Noel than with Mitchell Robinson when Mitchell Robinson played. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Mitchell Robinson because obviously Mitchell Robinson only played 31 games. And he played most of his games during a time when the Knicks weren't doing as well. Nerlens Noel played his games when the Knicks were doing well. So, the numbers could be skewed a little bit. But I still think it's worth the conversation. It's worth the conversation. I'm going to come over to this one right here. You see it on the screen. The Knicks offensive rating, the New York Knicks offensive rating with Nerlens Noel out there on the floor is 110.7. With Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks offensive rating was 108.5. Whatever those situations might be. And, for the most part, they were probably on the floor with the same players. That's the reason why we're asking these questions, man. Let me get to this caller here. And caller, you live. What's your name? Where you from?
Yeah, hey, my name's Mike. I'm calling from Kansas City.
Hey, what's going on, Mike? Good to talk to you, man.
Hey, not much. Thanks for having me on, and been a Knicks fan for a long time. Are you guys stationed out in New York?
No, I'm actually in D.C.
Oh, you're in DC. Okay.
Yeah, Isaiah.
All right, I'm
you know,
not
I don't know if Isaiah
Yeah.
want to say where he's from, or, you know, and Andy's in
Nah,
Poland.
I ain't telling you where I'm from, brother. I don't know you like that. I can't
Yeah.
tell you where I'm from.
Yeah, Andy's in Poland. G-Mo, he's in New York. But we all.
You can't tell me the state you're in.
Nah, brother.
Doesn't
Listen,
matter,
man.
bro. I don't want your address.
He's a little paranoid.
Hey, look, brother. I might be on the run. I can't tell you what state I'm in. Just know I'm around.
But we're all from New York, though.
Okay.
We just, you know, we just ended up in different areas of the world, but we're all from New York.
Okay, yeah. See, I was in the military for 25 years, and when I was out in Connecticut at the submarine base there in Groton, Connecticut, I used to go to New York. I used to go to New York a lot to see the Knicks
I'm from
game.
Connecticut too, brother. I'm
So,
from Connecticut too.
I always wanted to live there. What's that?
I'm from Connecticut. Golly.
Okay, yeah. I was out there for a while, but anyway, I just wanted to call and make a comment on the Knicks, man. I think the Knicks are going to be a problem this year, and they're under the radar. As far as the question in regards to Noel and Robinson, I think both of these guys are, you know, they're decent players, but their biggest issue is approach to the game, in my opinion. But I think this new guy Sims has got a high motor, and he's ready to make it happen. So I think he'll probably be the one out of that trio that pushes that team to the next level in the paint in regards to rim protection and just overall improvement. So I don't really see. I mean, these guys are Noel and Robinson are decent players, of course, but I think what's going to push them to the next level of improvement and activity is going to be that rookie. So if he's given the time, he's going to challenge them, like iron sharpens iron type thing. So, but
do you
I think bringing in Kemba Walker, with him being healthy, that's going to, in that backcourt. I think that's going to challenge some of the prolific offensive players in the East, like Trae Young. I don't think he's going to just be able to play offense this year. If they meet the Knicks, if Atlanta meets the Knicks in the playoffs, Trae Young's going to have to play defense. And when they double Randall, they got playmakers out there on the perimeter that can take that ball to the rack or make them pay with the jump shot. But the biggest thing I think is going to be what happens with the big men in the middle. Can they protect the rim and turn the opposing teams into jump shooting teams during that intense playoff environment? If they can do that, the Knicks are scary in the East. I mean, I don't think anyone can overlook them because of the depth that they have. And then Thibodeau, I mean, he makes sure he gets the best out of those guys too. So
right.
We'll see.
So you think Sims has a chance to crack the lineup this year?
I think his approach, I think his attitude towards the game is something that Noel or Mitchell they don't have.
Okay.
I don't think they have the same approach to the game as this guy. I mean, I watched him a little bit in college, and I watched him in the summer league, and his motor is intense. Obviously the athletic ability, but I think his approach to the game is what's going to challenge them. I don't know. I just think that, in practice, and if one of them gets hurt or something like that, I don't know what Thibodeau is going to do, but I think this guy is going to. I see and I don't want to disrespect the bigs that are there, but I don't see them as really alpha males, aggressive guys. They're kind of like, okay, they let the game kind of. I don't see them as real aggressive. I think that the rookie is more aggressive and more proactive in his play than those two guys, and I think he'll probably be one of the three that kind of pushes everyone to get better in the paint.
Okay,
that's my opinion.
All right, we'll see. That's definitely going to be something to watch for, because I do think he's gonna push and he's gonna challenge these guys. He may need a little bit of time, before he cracks that rotation. Maybe, a year or two, depending on what happens with Mitchell Robinson and what else happens with Nerlens Noel, trade scenarios and stuff like that. But if he comes in and he impresses, he definitely puts pressure on them guys. Mike, I thank you for your time, man.
Hey, let me ask you one question.
Thank you for your service too, brother.
If you get, before you cut me off, if you get, I could ask you guys one question, if someone you guys can answer this. What do you think the one thing was that allowed, or maybe one or two things that allowed Atlanta to be successful against the Knicks last year? If the Knicks would have been able to successfully deal with that one or two things, they would have been able to advance in the playoffs. That's the end of mine. That's my time. Thanks.
Appreciate you. I mean, I think it was that screen and roll, stopping Trae Young off that screen and roll. He's such a, he puts so much pressure on you coming off with his ability to, he can float it in, he can pull up the jump shot, and he can also find open scorers, not just Clint Capella in the alley-oop, but he can find guys on the wings. And then, so, that's one thing. And then that they had so many offensive weapons. Not that they had another guy that was always going to give you 30. They had a bunch of guys that can give you 20 on any given night and on the same night. You know what I mean? And it was they were such an offensive threat. You had guys like Bogdanovich. As soon as the ball touched their fingers, it was up in the air. How do you stop that? The only way that you can really stop that is to try to match it offensively, and we did not have the offense to do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say everything you just said, but no, to me, one of the biggest issues last year was, again, we talked about it last year, was that to me there was no pressure putting on Trae Young on the defensive side to make him work, to make him actually be tight on the offense. On the playoff series, he literally wasn't getting worked. He wasn't, there was no pressure on him. So he could literally be free to score whenever he wanted. Again, I remember we had this big talk, this big discussion when, Reggie Bullock was on him. We wanted Reggie Bullock to go in the post with him. But then we also remember that Reggie Bullock didn't put the ball on the floor. That's not his game. That wasn't comfortable. So definitely, there was a lot that factor. And then Julius Randle, I think there was a lot of nervousness with that too that played in the factor. Yeah, man, it sucked, but I think we learned from it, especially during the offseason that we had. I think we definitely learned what we kind of needed to do.
Yeah.
Also, Sim, that guy, I
them.
know he definitely voted for Sims to be the starter. So I'm not gonna lie. Either that's one of Sims' relatives, or he must really have followed this kid from Texas.
Maybe he just likes what he sees. Right now, Jericho Sims has 5% of the vote to be the starter.
It has to be that man that he must have had so many burner accounts.
Taj Gibson has 3%, Nerlens Noel 13%, and Mitchell Robinson 79%. I'm gonna take one more phone call and then I'm gonna get out of here because I got basketball practice myself. Caller, you live. Tell me your name, where you're from. Hello.
Yeah.
You live, my man. You got a lot of noise going on in the background. Think you can turn it down?
My phone making that noise. All right. You can hear me?
You're a little scratchy. You might have to call us back. My friend. Call us back. Let me get you another phone call here. Call you not. You're live. You are live. What's your name and where are you from?
So once again, this is no other than G-Man for life. You know what I'm saying?
G-Man, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling?
Salute to the chat. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna cut to the chase real quick because
Right.
I know you guys have other things to do. Sim just said he got basketball practice in a minute, and I know how that goes, right? So I'm saying this. I'm saying, why is there argument when my man Mitch was a starter at the beginning of the season? The only reason he didn't play, the games that we wanted him to play in was, hey, he got hurt. He was hurt. So why do we think that we don't go back to what the recipe was, to what we thought success was going to be with Mitch at the helm? That's my only question.
Because I don't know if we know what the recipe is.
That's a legit question. That's a legit question based on, especially the way the roster has been constructed this year. When you bring in a Fournier, Kemba, so that changes the dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, what I would say about Mitch is I hope that as he's bulking up and getting his size up, so he can be a presence in the paint, that he developed some type of offensive scheme at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Mitch at the defensive position all the time. I need for him to have some semblance of offense.
No, I definitely, and I would like to see him have more than just alley-oop to the basket. I don't know. We'll see this year. He's had a lot of time to work on his game. I think another reason why this question is being asked, one, we don't know what the recipe is, especially given the fact that Nerlens Noel, helped lead us to a lot of wins down the stretch of the season. With Nerlens Noel playing and Mitchell Robinson out, the Knicks were 24-15. That's 9 games above 500. That was pretty good. And we obviously know it wasn't all Nerlens Noel, but we also can't deny that Nerlens Noel came up big time in a lot of games, making, some big defensive blocks for us. Some blocks that actually changed the energy of games.
The outcome of the game.
Yeah. You know what I mean? He did do that. You got to give it to him.
And at the same time, so what I don't want to let go to the wayside is we also got to recognize the contribution that Taj Gibson made during the season as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Taj Gibson was huge for us last year. Huge. You know what I mean? And I think we also have to take into account Mitchell Robinson broke his foot.
He did.
He broke his foot. And, when he really starts putting game pressure on that foot, how's it hold up?
Yeah, what's that going to really look like?
Yeah.
So you can put as many YouTube videos out there, Twitter videos out there, Instagram videos out there, Facebook, whatever social media platform you want to kind of direct the narrative to, right? But we are not going to know what is real until he steps on the court in real NBA game time, to your point, Sam.
Right. You're not going to know.
But fellas,
G-Man.
It's a yes.
I know one thing.
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this. I'm telling you, I'm waiting for this.
G-Man, brother. We better win tonight. I know that much.
Listen, hey,
we better win tonight.
I'm sitting here right now. While I'm on the phone, I'm messing with my fantasy football team, right? And at the same time, I just traded for what's my man name? Good Lord. How am I a Giants fan and can't remember the name of a player? Oh my goodness. It's been a long day, fellas. I'm telling you.
Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley, Galladay.
No, it's
Sterling Shepard.
Daniel Jones.
The wide receiver.
Slayton?
Not Galladay.
Slayton?
Who?
Slayton?
Shepard.
Oh, Shepard.
I said that. Sterling Shepard.
Shepard. So I'm struggling right now to figure out if I need to start him against a Washington defense. And I'm kind of looking at what their secondary looks like right now. But to your point, yeah, we need this game tonight for sure.
Yeah, we do.
Because I'm telling you right now, I said this on multiple platforms. I'm telling you right now, if the Giants don't get it together, I'm going to use some of my points on those free flights. I'm coming to New Jersey, and I'm not going to see Gellerman. I'm going to see Mara and be like, what in the world is going on in your head right now?
G-Man, you want to know something? G-Man, you want to know something better, G-Man?
G-Man,
you want to know something better? Jimmy, you want to know something that's going to put a smile on some face with the minute I say it?
What's that?
If we lose tomorrow, you have a free welcome on my platform, 3BL, because we will be doing a video.
Boy. You know
we
what?
will be doing it.
G-Man,
no.
Don't listen, G-Man.
G-Man, we're going to be doing a video.
He ain't doing nothing. He ain't doing nothing on 3BL. G-Man, I thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, my brother. Y'all be easy, man.
All right, be peaceful.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to head up out of here. Let me get Big Mouth unmuted here. Oh, I took him out the stream. See that? I even took him out of it. I don't know. I don't know if he's not. I can't unmute him now. Andy,
I'm right here.
Andy, see, he's playing around. That's the reason why he gets kicked out. He got fired from his job. All kinds of who knows what's going on.
So why do you always see? This is what I like telling you. Anything I do in my real life, because you always put it on here.
Andy, any last words,
I
man?
just want to know. I didn't.
Hold on. Let me get to Andy. You'll have your time. Any last
Yes,
words? Who do you have as the starter, man?
Yeah, I'm not doing it, but I think Nerlens Noel can make a case for himself being the starting center for the Knicks. And listen, I think it's the position that's the closest between the starter and the first guy off the bench on the center position. I think that's the closest decision that Tibbs has to do. I think the rest of the lineup is basically set. So I think it's going to be a battle in the training camp and preseason games. I wouldn't be surprised if Tibbs would start Nerlens at the beginning of the season because of several reasons. He loves vets more. I think he will look, that for the lineup to be more productive, and I'm talking about the bench lineup to be more productive. And I think it's going to be more productive with Mitch Robinson in it. And listen, he held the fort down when Mitch went down, last season, and played more games than Mitch last season. So he was one of those guys that you could attribute the Knicks winning season, as well as for the rest of the starters. So I think he had a huge role. And I don't think, people saying that, he only got the job because Mitch was hurt. That's fine. And we all know that and understand that. But he really played good basketball for the Knicks. And like I said before, as the fifth man in the starting lineup, you don't even have to score a bucket. And just play ball and give up the positions for the better scorers on the offense. And on the defense, you can still contribute like you did last season. So I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm not going to be mad at Tibbs if he starts Nerlens Noel instead of Mitch Robinson next season. If it was up to me, I would start Mitch probably.
Okay, all right. Isaiah, your turn. Intro music. Yeah, that's your intro music, man. Intro music. Your turn.
You're the biggest hater. First and foremost, people, I want you to know I did not get fired from my job. I don't want this to start being a thing because people like to do this. I did not get fired. Okay, so don't you worry. I don't get fired. I quit.
Says you.
But I quit. Anyways, yes. I mean, look. I think it's Mitch's job to lose. I think this is actually probably gonna be the closest battle. This is gonna be the closest battle for positions in the starting lineup. And then when it comes to, I think we're not gonna know who's gonna be starting until maybe the second to last or last game of preseason, and maybe even after that, we won't know until opening night. Tickets are sold out, by the way. So yeah, it's going to be a good matchup, man. I think Mitch and I think either way we're going to be satisfied. To be honest with you, Sim. Okay. I think we're going to be satisfied either way, and it's going to be what Tom Thibodeau thinks is best for the first unit and second units. And yeah, man, let's go. This is going to be the hardest battle in training camp, and best man's going to get it.
All right.
I do want to say, Sim. I do want to say, I know you're not going to believe me. But let's go Giants tonight. And either way, good or bad, we're going to do a recap of the game.
All right, we will see. I ain't going to say nothing. I ain't going to say nothing. Show and prove. That's all I got to say.
That's it, baby.
In the chat, the poll that was in the chat, who will be the Knicks starting center? 78%. The people said Mitchell Robinson. 13% said Nerlens Noel. 4% said Jericho Sims. 3% said Taj Gibson. 240 votes overall, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. And, I'm heading up out, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified anytime I go live, drop a video, or post on my community section, ladies and gentlemen. And, yeah, I'm up out of here. Be peaceful.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench.